Hi everyone, Joe Oden over at All Seasons RV in Streetsboro. Today I'm going to do the second half of our virtual LP seminar, and this is going to be the last of our virtual seminars for now. We'll have more stuff going on in the future, but for this part of the series, this is it. The things I'm going to go over with you today are different types of regulators and hoses and what their uses are for, some safety devices, and then a couple ways to check for leaks and a couple of things you want to pay attention to on your propane bottle itself. So first off, I'm going to go over some regulators with you. As I talked to you in the previous segment about the auto changeover regulator, there are actually three different types. So we have your regular flow, which is going to be used primarily for RVs. It's just a boring gray regulator, really nothing too crazy or exciting. And we also have low flow. This is going to be more for like a pop-up camper, a smaller camper that doesn't have multiple LP appliances. Maybe you only have like a stove or you have a hot water tank, but you're not going to have your fridge, your hot water tank, your refrigerator, and furnace running all at once ever. So this would be more for low flow applications where you don't need a lot of high volume propane flow. And then we also have a high flow LP regulator. This is going to be more popular for very large fifth wheels in motorhomes, as well as especially food trucks, seeing as they have all the different stoves and fryers and things like that needing propane all at once. This is a much higher BTU rating than the other two, and like I said, it's very easy to tell the difference between the three. You just have green for high flow, blue for low flow, and then your regular RV is just going to have a normal gray boring regulator. Now as far as the pigtails go, there's a couple things you want to pay attention to when it comes to the pigtails that are hooked up to your regulator. Anything RV related, whether it's high flow, low flow, or regular flow, that nut is going to be green. That's just going to let you know that it lets out 75,000 to 100,000 BTUs, depending on whatever you need to fuel. They also have red, which is high pressure. So typically the operating pressure for the LP system in your camper is 11 inches water column. This would be 30 inches water column if you're utilizing any kind of appliances. Some camp stoves, turkey fryers, things like that do use a high pressure system, so get a little bit more flow through the propane, gives you a little bit higher of a flame, that kind of thing. That'd be sort of what that application would be for. And then I don't have one here because I don't sell any gas grill accessories per se. But anytime, if you look at your gas grill at home, you'll notice the nut that screws onto the tank is actually black. Black is going to be your traditional color for all of your grilling appliances, things of that nature that don't really require a lot of extra heat that's needed. Now, these are all high pressure hoses, so these are going to be before the regulator. So you literally hook this up to the tank, hook it to the regulator, so you have 150 to 240 psi in this hose at all times. On the low pressure side of it, after the regulator, the main type of hoses that we run into are low pressure quick disconnect hoses, or the trunk line like we see hooked up to the center of the regulator here. This is once again the piece that feeds the entire system after the regulator. These guys right here, your quick disconnect fittings, most campers nowadays, they come standard with a propane quick disconnect. These are mainly used for portable fire rings that run off of propane, as well as cooking appliances. These are really only rated for, like I said, 11 inches water column. They're nothing you want to hook directly up to the tank, and this can cause a lot of confusion for people. They don't understand that after you go ahead and go away from that regulator, everything is low pressure. And this is where we get a lot of people wanting to hook up their regular gas grill from their home up to an LP quick disconnect hose like so, and it ends up not working. The reason being is every gas grill you can purchase for your home or residential use, that already has a regulator built into it. And if we take low pressure propane from your regulator, from your LP system on your camper, and we run it through another regulator, that's going to go ahead and just completely dye everything out. You'll barely get any flame out of that burner, and you're never going to be able to cook anything. So they do make a number of different conversion kits so you can convert your gas grill down to low pressure. It's just a matter of the model of your grill and the manufacturer. manufacturer of the grill, because there's a lot of different styles and varieties throughout. If you have any questions, if you have a particular grill that you want to convert over, you can give us a call. We can look up that spec for you and see if we can get you a kit. But it's not something that you can just easily pick up anywhere. It's something you usually have to do some footwork to get your hands on. But a lot of the grills that RV dealerships and camping stores sell are quick disconnect ready, in which case, if they don't come with a hose like this, you can get yourself a hose that hooks onto the port that's attached to your camper, and then the other end hooks up into the grill. Now, as far as all the connections, when you're hooking up hoses, adding fittings, things like that, you want to make sure you're using the right type of thread sealer. You don't want to use regular PTFE pipe tape. You don't want to do anything like that. The propane will actually eat that Teflon tape over time. The thing you want to use joint thread compound. It's a very thick, pasty substance that you just basically, oh, there's not a hole poked in it, but you get the idea. It's a very thick, pasty substance that you rub on the threads, and then as you tighten it, it's almost like an adhesive. It doesn't lock it together permanently, but it's going to prevent anything from bubbling out, and at that point in time, you know that you're good to go. It's not going to develop a leak later if that propane is degrading, because it's simply not going to degrade it. Now, moving on from that, I want to go over with you a little bit about leak detection. So there's two main ways to detect an LP leak in your RV's LP system. One is with a drop test. With a drop test, basically what you do is you take this device here, which is called a manometer, you hook it up to one of the appliances in your camper, shut the propane off, and see if your LP system holds pressure. We do have a very detailed video taken on by our parts associate Jeff, where he goes through step-by-step how to do LP drop test if you want to check that out. But that's what this device is mainly used for, mainly by technicians to check for a leak. Now, if you yourself think you have a leak and you want to go through and check all your joints, we do have a substance here, gas leak detector, and it's basically a very bubbly solution. It's a lot more effective than dish soap and water, believe it or not. Basically what you do is you just take your little wand here, put it around all your joints and things like that, see if you have any bubbles coming out. That'll let you know if you have a leak or not. Around the regulator, around your valves, and around where the pigtails hook up, that is going to be the most common spot for your leaks, believe it or not under the camp or anything. So most of the time, if you have a leak, it's generalized in this area, which is kind of nice, but you never know, so you want to check everything at that point in time. Another thing you want to make sure you always have current in your camper are your LP and carbon monoxide detectors. So this will detect propane as well as carbon monoxide. Your typical carbon monoxide detector that you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, that is not going to detect propane. So your entire camper can fill up with propane while you're sleeping in it. It'll never go off. This here will detect both. With these, they are hardwired into your electrical system. There is no battery to change. And every single camper since 1995 has been required by law to have one of these installed in it. They do expire just like a smoke detector in your home. They expire every 5 years, and they'll typically let you know. They have a kill switch inside. 5 years after the first time you put power to it, it will start going off for no reason, and it gets very, very annoying, so it basically forces you to replace it. They are a little bit more expensive than your traditional carbon monoxide detector that you get at the store, but don't cut costs with this. Make sure you're putting the proper equipment in your camper, because all it takes is one leak when you're sleeping, and it's a very, very sad and unfortunate outcome. So if you're going to skimp somewhere, do not skimp on this equipment here, I assure you. And then the other thing, big safety concern, and actually it's illegal if you don't follow this safety concern, is the age of your propane bottles. So you want to make sure you're not filling any propane bottles that are over 10 years old and have not been recertified. It's very, very simple to find the date of manufacture on your propane bottle. So there's a ton of different information on here about where your tank was made, what kind of stuff it's held, or what it's made to hold, all that good stuff. But right here in the very top corner, that's where you can see the date. This particular tank was made in November of 2017. So if you're within that 10-year threshold, you're good to go. And then if you're outside of that 10-year threshold, but the tank still looks great and brand new, really no rust around the perimeter or anything like that, you can take it to most U-Haul locations to get it recertified. And that recertification is good for 5 years at that point. And if you still keep it in perfect condition, you can keep getting that tank recertified, but it's just something you have to keep up on so you don't put yourself or anyone else who's trying to fill the tank into a dangerous situation. Other than that, that pretty much concludes this segment of our RV LP seminar. Once again, guys, up until the second week of February, we do have our show going on. So feel free to come on in, take a look. We're giving away free toilet paper. Other than that, hope you guys have a great night. Thanks again.